This past weekend, we had a great ride with friends, and I also got a chance to ride someone's XT250 just so that I could give it a little comparison to my 225 and to share those impressions that I got while riding it. For those that don't normally watch this channel, I ride a 2006 Yamaha XT225 and very much use it as a dual sport. For example, this past weekend I rode 80 to 90 miles to get to this trailhead, and some stretches are at 70 miles an hour, so I'm pushing the little 225 on the roads, and then we get to the trails and it's first and second gear, lugging up some slippery hillsides and through the woods, and then ride it back home. So I expect a lot of the bike, and it's proven to be a great motorcycle for me. Alrighty, I'm going to take a ride on Jim's XT250 here with the Dunlop 605s and see what we got. Alrighty. Oh, it feels good. Man, that feels good. Neutral, dashboard. Wow, it's got a Chevy block on there. So it's all stock, right? Engine and... okay. Bars are a little lower. Ooh, clutch is a little... there we go. So this is Jim's 2015 XT250 with 5,300 miles on it. It's relatively new to him. It's a used motorcycle, but it was literally only ridden on the roads, and it has very little to no signs of wear and tear. It just looks and rides like a brand new motorcycle. So I'll give you my impressions of the bike and let you know what I'm thinking while I'm riding it. And then afterward, I'll go into a little further thought about how the bike felt, how I think it compares to my XT225. Alrighty, my first ride on an XT250, and I need to take it easy because it is sketchy and dry out here. Unfamiliar bike. It feels familiar, but not familiar. I tell you, it's got better acceleration than the XT right there. In the mid-range where it hits a little bit, I can tell on my 225 that I have a CV carburetor. And the CV carburetor, it does a good job, but it's a little bit mushy, I'd say. I'm going to take it real easy around these turns until I get a feel for it. Okay, brakes. How's that rear disc? Better. Yeah. Okay. It's tracking really well. Okay, I love the brakes. Now, one thing is, I was going faster on my XT225 a little minute ago, and I was pushing it, and I really was pushing the limits of the bike, and I don't want to push the limits here. I'm already starting to feel more comfortable, which is wonderful. Handling is good. Little air. Engine is very linear. Handling is good. It needs the bigger foot pegs. Can't tell a whole lot about the tires because I'm not pushing it. Felt great going around that little turn, that little slick turn. It's not chattering on the downhills like my bike was. Okay, well, I'm not able to give a full review on the 250, but I like the bike. It would take some getting used to as far as the setup. I think the suspension is a little bit stiffer. Well, maybe not. Than on my 225. I will have to figure out what I think here. I like it. Trade you. And I'll throw in a Phillips screwdriver, straight up. Yeah, I like, it's got better acceleration than mine for sure. And that disc brake is awesome. The disc brake is great. I'm trying to think if there's anything I don't like. Well, handlebars are a little low for me. Yep. And suspension was soft, but not as soft as that stock. Yeah. But yeah, it felt foreign at first, but yeah, I like it a lot. You know, like I say, one day that's going to wear out. It just is. It's 2006. I'd be happy. Shortly after riding the XT250, I was back on my old familiar, old faithful XT225, and then I was really able to think about some comparisons in my head. And one of the big advantages to the 250, I think, is that rear disc brake. Even just hopping on the bike for the first time, I was able to modulate that brake better with better feel than the rear drum on my 225. I also really liked the seat on the 250. It was a bit narrower, it was firmer, it was also flatter. At first on the 250 I thought the back end was squatting down, but it's just because the seat was flatter, it was lower in the back, and if anything, probably makes it easier to throw a leg over the bike since they both share the same 31.9-inch seat height at the front. Now when it comes to the engine, we see some real differences. Most notably the electronic fuel injection in the 250 versus the old school CV constant velocity carburetor in the 225. And both systems have their advantages and disadvantages, and that's much debated, and that whole thing could just fill a feature-length movie. So I'm not going to dive into the details on that, but I will give you the practical differences in the way the engines feel. On the 250 when riding it, I mentioned that it seemed to pull harder in the mid-range. It had a very linear power. It also revved a bit higher, so I think the 250, not a great deal of power down low, but it builds through the mid-range. You feel a surge up to the higher RPMs, and it's a really fun engine to ride. Comparatively, the 225 is kind of a boring engine. What it does is it builds power down low rather quickly, and then the power kind of flattens out and the engine doesn't rev quite as high. While I say it's boring, from a practical standpoint, it's also what lets it behave so incredibly well on the trails, allows me to climb these hills with the choice of either first or second gear, kind of lugging the engine. It's not a 400 cc kind of torque or anything, but it has this great grunt for a little 225. The other big difference, the 5-speed on the 250 and the 6-speed on the 225. That 6th gear on the 225 allows it to not only have a low first gear for all that grunt, but the 6th gear allows me to travel at 70 miles an hour on the highway with friends, which I'm really realizing now how amazing that is, that the motorcycle 225cc engine is that versatile. And if you really want to get deeper into how these two motorcycles compare, I'm going to copy a comment below from Exploder69, who owns both motorcycles. He has a 2015 XT250 and a 2007 XT225, and he goes into great detail in that comment below about the differences in the motorcycles. Bottom line is, I wish I had them both in my garage too, because I think the XT250 is a blast. I would be happy with either bike, but nothing yet convinces me to go away from the 225. I also want to share a link in the description below to a video from Dual Sport Jeff, who owns an XT225. And though he talks about the great modifications he's made to his XT225, I think XT250 owners might find it useful also if you're looking to modify the suspension on your bike. Jeff does a lot of cool different setups on his bike, but one of the big things is he has the Cogent Dynamics suspension. He talks about how good it is. It's a complete suspension makeover for these motorcycles. And it also shows how the suspension can be set up to accommodate a larger rider. And there are so many larger riders leaving comments that really like the bike. I think you'll find Jeff's video helpful, so look at that below. Alrighty, that's it for this video. I'm looking and I see there are 995 subscribers on this channel, so we are super close to 1,000. I appreciate everyone who's subscribed. If you've liked this video, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't, and hope to see you in the next videos. We'll keep riding along, and when we do, please, let's all ride safe.